Welcome back to the Den of Episodes. I'm Marlo Fox, and this is your cozy little corner of the internet. Another Highland adventure awaits, so pour yourself a cup of tea or coffee, snuggle in somewhere cozy. I'm not going to stoke the fire this week because spring is on its way, people. Tonight's episode has rivalry, folklore, and a fish that apparently wanted a cameo. Let's dive in. The spotlight of this episode is on Alexander Morton. He plays the role of Golly Mackenzie, the head gillie for Glenbogle. He was born March 24th, 1945 in Glasgow, or as you would say in Scotland, Glasgow, I think, which makes him 80 years old. He's the only actor to appear in all 64 episodes of Monarch of the Glen and 65 acting credits total. His most recent was in a show called River City in 2022. A fun fact about him is that before filming Monarch of the Glen, he met his current wife because she was his landlady. Cute, huh? Golly is loyal, steady, and wry, just mysterious enough to keep Glenbogle on its toes. He believes in the other world in a way that makes you go, I kind of like that. I mean, who doesn't love a guy who's equal parts straight shooting and slightly spooky? Our ancillary characters this week are Roger. I think his job for Kilwillie is the same as Duncan's for Glenbogle. He is huge, about 6'6". If you watch the show Game of Thrones, you may recognize him, where he played the character of the Hound. The next character we see this week is Fiona Lennox. She works for a marketing firm in Glasgow. I know I'm going to get email on that. Gavin, he is Fiona's photographer. And that's it. Let's get into the episode. We start off with Kilwillie and his daughter Flora riding up on beautiful horses. There are bagpipes playing, and Roger is walking along carrying the flag for Kilwillie Estate. Out comes Hector, thinking Kilwillie is there to challenge him to the flight of the Maiden boat race, only to be told it's not his challenge anymore, it's Archie's. And you can see that hits Hector hard. Every time Hector gets reminded he's not the one leading anymore, I feel sad for him. The actress Betty Davis used to say, getting old is not for sissies. And Glenbogle is not easing him into it gently. Archie steps forward, accepts the challenge, and just like that, we have the anticipation of the flight of the Maiden boat race. Over at Katrina's cottage, we find her sitting in her cozy kitchen having breakfast. She opens a letter and immediately she's on her feet jumping up and down with joy. She's been selected to run for the local council, and you can tell this matters to her. She steps outside still glowing, and there in front of her house are two strangers in the road talking. One of them's talking on a cell phone. They're nicely dressed. One of them has a camera. Now, she doesn't know who they are, but she automatically assumes they're with the press and they want to interview her now that she's running for council. She tells them she doesn't have time and rides off on her bike. She doesn't find out until later that they're with a marketing firm hired by Archie for the spring water project. Lexi goes outside to take the laundry off the line, and there, hanging on the clothesline, is a pike. A full-size fish just swaying like it pays rent. If I walked outside and saw that, there would be noises, not calm ones. She marches down to the lock and confronts Duncan and Golly. Duncan denies everything. Golly suggests maybe it wasn't a someone, but a something. He tells them about Red Bonnet, a Highland legend. He is a sneaky spirit that leaves clues as to where to find treasure, then comes back the following night for dinner. What fun! All through the episode, Golly talks as if he really believes the Red Bonnet legend, and I kind of like that. Duncan announces he's leaving Glenbogle. He believes he was born for something bigger, something more exciting. When Lexi asked where he's going, he says Dundee, and I'll tell you about Dundee a little later. Meanwhile, Fiona is pitching sleek marketing ideas to Archie, and Gavin is photographing Golly on the stairs in his kilt and bonnet, And Golly looks very uncomfortable at having his picture taken and says he has things he needs to be doing. And then Fiona mistakes Hector for the butler. That one stings. She even asked him to take her bags inside. Meanwhile, Katrina storms in, still thinking Fiona is with the press. She tells Archie not to tell her anything. He clears things up, and Katrina isn't happy about the idea that he didn't let her in on hiring a marketing firm. She tells him that she's running for council and she might be able to get the funding herself if she wins. Archie still isn't happy. He thinks the election will take up too much time when she could be helping him. Archie tries to smooth things over by asking her over for dinner that night to talk strategy. He says a friendly spirit left a pike and that he'll cook it. In the hunting lodge, Katrina is working at the computer when Fiona comes in. They begin talking, and it turns out Fiona belongs to the same political party as Katrina. She congratulates her for being selected to run for office, and their conversation continues. It seems they have lots to talk about. Outside, we see Duncan and Roger preparing the lock for the race. They're removing any large stones, and Roger is picking them up effortlessly, while Duncan less so. He's splashing, straining, cursing under his breath. You know the vibe. And then Duncan drops a boulder on Roger's toe. At that exact moment, Roger reaches in and pulls up a ring. They take it to Hector and Molly and find out that it's the Laird's ring. It was lost years ago, passed down for generations. Molly says the ring is from the 16th century, and Archie instantly sees dollar signs. Or as they would say in Scotland, pound signs. He wonders whether selling the ring might solve all the estate problems. Hector says his father gave it to him and he will never sell it. Tradition says the finder keeps it, and Roger is Kilwillie's man. Suddenly the race isn't just about pride anymore. Stakes are officially raised. Hector is none too happy about Kilwillie being in possession of the ring, so Molly walks in on him brandishing a sword. He's slicing it through the air and says combat is the only way to get the ring back. He continues swinging the sword as he comes nearer Molly and then points it as if to run the sword through her. He, of course, is playing, but he falls in a chair and declares that everyone is treating him like a child. He says he knows when he isn't needed and leaves the room. In the kitchen, Archie's helping Lexi prepare dinner for him and Katrina. He's calling it a business dinner. We see him waiting for her and looking at his watch. Where is she? He calls her and angrily tells her she's an hour late. The funny part is she's on her cell phone and she was upstairs the whole time talking to Fiona. They eat in silence as Archie is still annoyed with her. When they finally do talk, he tells her he's pleased she was nominated for the election. She says she doesn't have time tonight to talk about the spring water, that she told Fiona she'd be back in an hour. Archie brings up Justine running out of patience with him being gone from London. This triggers Katrina as usual. Hector, feeling very lost, goes down to see his father's grave. Monty and Rommel, his dogs, are by his side, and he's reflecting on his father and what a great man he was. He says quietly to himself, or maybe to the dogs, "Who needs me?" Some of us know this feeling, a season of change where your role, your place, isn't quite what it used to be. There comes a time in all our lives where we must face this. Later at Golly's cottage, there's a fire crackling, and he and Archie, Gavin and Duncan are sitting around drinking and telling stories. Golly's telling them about Red Bonnet. It seems something happened in the year 1611 where a man was betrothed and lost his mind, apparently due to Red Bonnet. Golly says since then no MacDonald has spent a night alone in the woods of Glenbogle. They're all listening intently, and Archie says, Who would be afraid of a little man in a red cap? I don't know. That sounds pretty scary to me. And somehow Archie agrees to spend the night in the woods, torch in hand, full of determination. Lexi arrives at Golly's cottage. I think she was looking for Duncan. And he and Gavin are talking. Gavin leaves, and Duncan tells Lexi that Gavin is the first person to ever take him seriously. And Gavin thinks that Duncan should move to Glasgow and find himself. There's lots of possibilities there. Lexi's worried and very protective, so she decides to set Duncan up because she knows that Gavin is gay. She tells Duncan that if he's going to fit in with the big city types, he needs to act like them. And Duncan, being gullible as he is, she tells him that they like hugs and lingering eye contact. Cue awkward moments and signals getting crossed. Meanwhile, in the woods, we see Archie looking a bit afraid as he hears all sorts of woodland noises. Noises and shadows, the occasional suspicious rustle, and then a scream. Not heroic. And somewhere an owl is embarrassed. I didn't know Archie could scream like that. It wasn't Red Bonnet, but his father Hector. It seems lately Hector's been going out for walks all hours of the night. They sit on a log and talk about the ring and the boat race. Hector tells Archie that he lost the ring when he was out swimming. His father was, of course, very upset and disappointed about losing the ring. Then they see flashing lights in the distance and go to investigate. Hector thinks it's Red Bonnet. I thought the lights looked like a UFO. But it's Duncan dressed in his kilt and, yes, a red bonnet. And the flashing lights are Gavin taking photos of Duncan. The day of the boat race arrives. Archie is wearing a red and black tartan kilt. His calves look gorgeous. To the wardrobe department, chef's kiss. He challenges Kilwillie. Hector jumps in the boat with Archie, and we have two boats racing across the loch to rescue the maidens. It's neck and neck. Archie and Hector win. There's cheering and hugging, and pride is restored. Hector lifts the ring skyward. Later in the kitchen, Duncan is telling Gavin that he could never leave Glenbogle. Now that's a change of heart. Lexi overhears this, and I guess she's angry because she was so worried and concerned about him leaving. She bursts in with a skillet raised and takes off after him. We're outside, and we see Archie and Katrina sitting on a bench, and in the background, Duncan running from Lexi. Their conversation on the bench ends up in bickering, as usual. And in the final scene of the episode, we have Archie tossing in bed. He feels something under his pillow, takes it out, and it's the ring. Did Red Bonnet place it there? Who knows? In our animal sighting this week, we had the pike on the washing line. A pike is a long predatory freshwater fish with a flat duck-like snout and sharp teeth. They live in lakes and rivers of North America, Europe, and parts of Asia. They eat smaller fish, frogs, and insects. They're popular sport fish because they fight hard. They are typically 2 to 3 feet long, weighing 3 to 15 pounds. But big ones can reach 4 to 5 feet long and weigh over 40 pounds. I'm telling you, the one in this episode was huge. And here's a fun question. Would you rather find a pike in your laundry or a spider? I choose the pike any old day. Our other animal sightings were Monty and Rommel, the dogs, and the beautiful horses at the beginning. And now it's time for our Across the Pond translations. When Archie was in the woods with his torch, you might have thought I meant like a big piece of wood with a burning flame on the end. But that's not at all what it was. In the UK, a torch is a flashlight. And at some point in the episode, I believe it was Lexi that referred to Duncan as a git. That is a fool or an irritating person. during a conversation between Archie and Katrina, where he finds out she's running for council, he tells her she's not on the hustings yet. And that means the campaign trail. It may sound like a strange word to us, and it's actually a very old Viking word, is where it originally came from. And the word was husting, which meant hus meaning house and thing meaning assembly or meeting. And when the Vikings went over to England to plunder and pillage, they brought with them the word husting. I think at some point in the episode the word gutted was used, and that means deeply disappointed. I think I used that word. That might not just be a British thing or a Scottish thing. We have bonnet when referring to the Legend of Red Bonnet, and that is a tam o' shanter, which I told you about earlier, a type of cap. It's a soft round wool cap with a little wool pom-pom on top, which is called a tootsie. Tootsie. Or tootsie. I'm not sure how it's pronounced. Sometimes it has a ribbon hanging down the back. Traditionally, it's dark blue, but it can be other colors or tartans as well. A couple of extra words that I thought of this past week that you may not know are hundreds and thousands. In the UK, if someone asks if you want hundreds and thousands, they're talking about sprinkles. And if they tell you they want to throw some shapes, they might mean they want to go dancing. Dundee was brought up earlier when Duncan wanted to escape to Dundee. That is a town on the east coast of Scotland along the River Tay. It's about 90 minutes north of Edinburgh with a population of about 150,000. Its nickname is Jute, Jam, and Journalism. Jute because of their textile industry, jam, especially marmalade, and journalism because it's home to the publishing company DC Thomson. Also, if you're a gamer, it is the birthplace of Grand Theft Auto. In this episode, we had a story of the Legend of Red Cap, and that made me think about my own family legend. And I never really called it a legend. It was more of a story, something my grandmother always told us that seemed very otherworldly. She would tell us to take a clear glass down to a stream on the first day of May before the sun rose, fill the glass up, set the glass down, and wait for the sun to rise. And as the sun's coming up, the light reflects on this glass, and in the glass you'll see who you're going to marry. Behind you, you'll hear some rustling at some point, and you won't be able to not look around. But when you do, that's when you turn back around and the image is gone. And my grandmother said she saw my grandfather in a glass of water. I can only imagine what a lot of you are thinking, but if you'd only known my grandmother, this woman was such a faithful Christian. She was wonderful. She didn't lie. And she wasn't the type to make something up like this out of fun, you know? And I would ask her to tell me this story all the time. And I couldn't help but believe it because of who was telling me. And was I tempted to do it? Absolutely. Did I ever do it? Absolutely not. There was no way I was going to go somewhere like that in the dark. And it was just too supernatural, too scary for me, unfortunately. But if any of you out there hear this story and want to give it a try, let me know what happens. So that's my family legend. And I have been laughed at before for relaying that story, but I'm telling you, if you only knew my grandmother. And that's it for this week's episode of Monarch of the Glen. I hope you'll join me next week. As always, if you need to reach out to me, I'm at the Den of Episodes at yahoo.com. I'm Marlo Fox. Keep the kettle on and the episodes rolling.